Hi everybody, it's Debby Green from celestialastrologyhealing.co.uk. This is the second video that I'm doing to introduce new people to astrology. The last video got cut slightly short because I thought I'd paused it whilst I was serving a customer here at Centaur Design. Ended up recording about half an hour's worth of serving a customer, and then I realized I had to crop it. So what I thought I'd said hadn't been recorded in the first video. So I believe I was talking about the 7 luminaries. So when we think about the luminaries and the planets, the luminaries are the sun and the moon that the ancients would have seen with the naked eye, and the planets are Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn. So yeah, Saturn being the boundary planet. So when we think of the sun, if we think about the constancy of the sun rising every day, the fact that the sun represents our vitality and we need the sun to live, it can therefore represent that sense of spirit, that inner source within us, that constance. So it's our spirit, it's the essence of our soul, it's about purpose in life and following our will in that constant way, the masculine or yang energy of the sun, the luminary. So this is a very important part of our nature. And often it's what people know of their astrology as in the sun sign or the star sign, which is in times gone by, it was in the newspapers and magazines, and now it's much more likely to be online on lots of forums and free websites. Then we can think about the moon as a very changeable body, the luminary that reflects the sun's light in a more responsive and reactive way. So it's more yin, it's more feminine, it's a serpentine nature. If you think about the dark moon at new moon, you can't see the moon for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, and then you see the tiny sliver of the new moon, which is the beginning of the lunar cycle, gradually gaining light and becoming full 2 weeks after the new moon, when the highest amount of light is reflected and projects and cycles come to fruition before it wanes back down to the dark cycle again, which takes about 28 days for the full lunar cycle. And we think about the moon representing this serpentine nature of change and reaction, emotions and sensitivity. It can therefore represent our environment in life, our body and the plot line, which can often change. And also the mother, the mothering energy, which is a learned reaction from being a nurtured baby, responding to the caring maternal energy, traditionally, whoever was the caregiver. So this becomes a very responsive part of our nature, the moon. And then there's the ascendant, which is the rising constellation over the eastern horizon. So here's the horizon. And at dawn, whenever you're born, it's this sign of the zodiac, which is actually peaking above that horizon. And whatever sign that is, represents the first impression that we make to the world, how others see us and perceive us, our first impressions that we make to express ourselves in life. So therefore it can also be like a focal lens, how we view life through that sense of whatever sign is on the ascendant too. So yeah, that can be a very important part of our personality. So the astrological triad, the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. And if you did manage to print off your chart from one of the free sites that I listed in the comments on part 1 of this series, there was AstroSeek or astro.com or Cafe Astrology, I believe. Then you can print off your chart from your date, time, and place of birth to get a very specific natal chart representing a frozen moment in time based upon where you were born on the earth, the latitude and longitude, making it very specific to your time zone and country. So when we think about other influences in the chart, there are the other planets that were visible by the ancient ones. So the planets were thought to be like gods and goddesses, bestowing their gifts upon us as we absorb the messages and the omens from the heavens as we live here on earth. And therefore it can be seen as a divinatory method to ask the oracle for knowledge and understanding. So our birth chart gives us the capacity to learn more about ourselves, our gifts, where we may have gifts and find things easier in life, where the gods and goddesses, the planets, bestow gifts upon us, or where there may be certain challenges in life dependent on planets, whether they're maybe in a more difficult placing, such as being in detriment or in fall, rather than being in the sign that they rule. So these are just different terminologies, but this is why it's good to start slowly. And I was hoping to share a screen here of an image of a chart. So here is a chart that actually was the chart of today's energy, what was going on in the heavens on the 9th of May 2022, based in London GMT, and this was earlier today, so the times, the ascendant would have changed by now. But I'm going to go around the zodiac wheel and explain where we may start. So this sign here, where the star is the symbol of Mercury. The signs of the zodiac go around the outside. This sign here is Libra, the light blue, the scales. This sign upside down here is Scorpio. It looks like an M with a stinging tail on the end of it. This sign here is Sagittarius, the archer, symbolized by the arrow. This sign here is Capricorn. It's like a V with a swirly S on the end. This sign here, the zigzaggy lines, is the water, the Aquarius, the symbol of the water carrier. This sign next, going anti-clockwise, is the sign of Pisces, looking like, I suppose it's like a Euro sign that's reflected back to back, but it's two fishes swimming in opposite directions, the symbol of the fish. And this sign here is Aries, the ram. The next one around here at the 1 o'clock position on a clock is Taurus, the sign of the bull. The two lines here like columns holding up a base and a ceiling is the sign of Gemini. The one that looks like a 6 and a 9 on its side is the sign of Cancer. And this sign here, the last one, is, I don't know how you would describe that, like maybe one headphone and one missing headphone, looks like Leo. So that's just going around the wheel of the zodiac. So sometimes I use the analogy of, let me get an arrow here. Yeah, these areas here going around, maybe think about a birthday cake where the candles would sit. So that's the signs of the zodiac. And then we have planets that are placed within certain signs of the zodiac. So today, earlier on today, around 12:09 GMT, here's the moon, and the moon was in the sign of Leo. The symbol of the moon here, like the crescent moon, this is the sign of the zodiac Leo. There's 30 degrees in each sign here, and the moon was at 24 degrees, and this section here after the symbol of Leo is 26 minutes. So the moon tends to move and change sign every 2.5 days or so. So probably by tomorrow, if I forwarded this chart, the moon will be into the next sign of Virgo. So the moon is actually quite a good one to follow, just the energies changing as she moves through the different signs of the zodiac. Today in Leo, being a fire sign, a fixed fire sign, masculine or yang energy, as in yin and yang, symbolized by the proud, regal lion, very focused, loving to be, quite generous, bright, optimistic, thinking of the sun being the ruler of Leo. So a lovely, bright energy with the moon in that sign. And then let's go around the chart anti-clockwise, which this one here wouldn't be seen or acknowledged by the ancient ones, because this one is Pluto, which is an outer planet not discovered until the 1930s. So I'm not going to go into the description just now. This one here is Saturn. Saturn was the most distant planet as seen by the ancient ones. Saturn was the most furthest away planet, so therefore represented a boundary, the coldest place, the most isolated place, and therefore Saturn can represent things like restriction, challenges and difficulties, maybe feelings of isolation or limitation or responsibility in life. And Saturn can be a good thing to use within life, because it can be very grounding, using one's skills. And you maybe have heard of a Saturn return, which is when Saturn returns to the heavens to the same degree of where it was when you were born, around about the time of 29, 30 years old. So before you're that age, you wouldn't have had a Saturn return. And then obviously we can get second Saturn returns, which is where I'll be approaching next. Good stuff. So talking about Saturn, we can see Saturn is at 24 degrees, 41 minutes in Aquarius. And traditionally, Saturn rules Aquarius. Saturn also rules Capricorn traditionally. So when a planet is in a sign that it rules, it's called being in its domicile, or is a dignified planet. So Saturn can work well using Saturn's skills in this fixed masculine yang air sign about communication. Air signs are very much about sharing ideas, thoughts, and speech, language, communications. It could be through the internet, typing, emails, publishing, things like that. So Saturn is in Aquarius. Moving on, we will go to Mars next, if I can find my wee glyphy thing. There's a circle here. Here's Mars, the symbol which we would recognize as traditionally the masculine symbol for male, as Venus would be for female. So as we can see, Mars is at, oh, that's another circle. I didn't mean to do that. This is fun and games, isn't it? Mars is at 18 degrees, Pisces, 24 minutes. So Mars is in a water sign, and Pisces is a feminine, as in yin, mutable, like changeable, the fishes that are fluid and changing and moving, adapting with the shoal. So movable water sign. So Mars tends to like to be in a fire sign such as Aries, or the water sign that he also rules, Scorpio, fixed water, Aries, cardinal fire. I'll go into the modalities later, the nature of the different elements. So Mars is in a sign that has to he has to behave slightly more differently, because Mars is about how we assert ourselves and apply our energy. So it could be that our energy may feel a little bit washed out, or a little bit more drawn off task, going off on a tangent, maybe here or there, or being able to just be a bit more flexible with that nature of using our energies. So then moving on to the next traditional planet, I'm going to circle. Well, first of all, there's an arrow. How did that happen? Here we go. This really is like interesting. Yeah, here's Aquarius. Here's Jupiter at 29 degrees, 42 minutes Pisces. So Jupiter literally is at the very last minutes of the 30-degree range of occupancy that it can make. So very, very soon, Jupiter will be moving into the next sign of Aries. But at the moment, Jupiter is in the sign that Jupiter rules. As well as Sagittarius, Jupiter rules Pisces. So Jupiter is able to exert his energy, and Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system. So therefore tends to represent growth, expansion, positivity, hope, dreams, searching, learning, truth, all of these things. And in Pisces, it's much more of a creative type of energy, because Pisces is more sensitive and intuitive, rather than the fiery Sagittarian nature, which is more active and physically doing and restless. Jupiter's much more sensitive. So yeah, the energies of Jupiter in Pisces is a lovely energy to have. And yeah, so things will change when Jupiter moves on into Venus, into Aries there. So yeah, let me circle Venus. Here's Venus. Venus is in Aries. So actually, this is an example of a planet, the Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. And yeah, she's also known as Aphrodite. She loves harmony. She loves beautiful things. She loves comfort. She loves physical touch and sensuality. And she normally rules Libra or Taurus. So when we think about that, here is Libra, and you can see that Libra is opposite Aries. So Venus is what's called being in detriment, because she is in the home of Aries, which is opposite the sign that she normally inhabits, or that is her home. So when a planet is in a place of its detriment, it has to work harder to achieve the things that it wants to do. So Venus in Aries won't be quite as easygoing in a one-to-one relationship way of interacting with others. Venus is much about relationships and how we interact. So Venus in Aries may be a little bit more sparky, because Aries is a masculine yang cardinal fire sign, symbolized by the ram. And Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac at the beginning of the astrological new year. We don't start our year with the 1st of January, we start with spring equinox in the tropical zodiac. So Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. So Venus in Aries may cause a little bit more sparky conflict or clashing of egos, perhaps, because Aries is very aware of one's own needs and is a bit like the Fool of the zodiac, being such a young sign. So now let me see if I can circle the next sign around. We'll ignore Uranus because that's an outer planet, and look how accurate I can be with this. There we are, Sun 18 degrees 51 minutes in Taurus. So that is the sign that the Sun is traveling through for this month, and I think that changes around the 21st of May, when the Sun will move into Gemini. But yeah, the Sun in Taurus is a very nice, earthy, slightly slower paced sign. So people born under this placing will have that sort of, not ploddy, but, you know, resilient, steady, sometimes cautious, but not liking to change too much, because Taurus is a feminine yin, fixed earth sign, symbolized by the bull. So, you know, there's a steadfastness about Taurus, practicality and endurance, a sense of persevering and persisting and being quite grounded and practical, and ruled by Venus. So Venus bestows that sense of love and appreciation, sensual things, loving food, good drink, sensual pleasures, physical touch, good music, all these things are Venusian. So Taurians tend to have a very refined sense of taste and pleasure related to the senses. And then I think we've only got one or two more quick ones to go around. We're talking about the original 7. Here's Mercury, slightly outside my circle here. See if I can do that better. Slightly better. So Mercury, 4 degrees Gemini, 49 minutes. So where you see that S next to it, that means stationing. So Mercury, as viewed from the Earth, is actually slowing down now and stopped, because Mercury is about to move retrograde as viewed by the Earth. And when that happens in a chart, you'll see an R, capital R with a wee X on the end of it. And that would mean that from Earth, Mercury appears to be going backwards. So Mercury represents communications. So he's Hermes, the messenger, the communicator, the traveler, the trickster, the merchant. So in ancient times, if you imagine before our modern day travel, there would be this flitty person that like traveled right across the hills to the next village or tribe and passed on the news or sold his wares or you know, communicated what was going on and learned the news and carried it back over to the next village. So it's a very much a movable, communicative sign. It's the air sign, again, that the Mercury is placed in at the moment here. It's Mercury in Gemini. So Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So it's a masculine yang, mutable air sign. So any air sign is to do with the mind and thoughts and communication. So Mercury can tend to work well when placed in Gemini. There are two sides to Gemini, being the twins. So there can be a changeability with Geminis, but Mercury in Gemini is usually very good to use the mind, to do communications quite clearly. However, during times of Mercury in its shadow period before going retrograde, this can be a time where it's best not to sort of seal deals and contracts or think about journeys, because sometimes there can be setbacks or holdups, or times are best to review things, revise things, and just go back over things while Mercury is in retrograde positions. But Mercury in Gemini is usually very good for the mind, but it can sort of lead to slight nervous exhaustion because there's so much going on and the ability to think about many different things. So the last one I'd like to highlight, I think, did we start with this one actually? Yeah, I think we did start with the moon, didn't we, in Leo. So yeah, that's just an example of going through a chart. So that alone is quite a lot of information to take in. So we've gone around the whole signs of the zodiac around the outer wheel, and then we've gone into some planetary placings within the wheel. And yes, so if a person was born at this time of the day, this would be their birth chart. And then what we could next do would be look into the types of energies that the planets would exert as gods and goddesses within these different signs of the zodiac, whether they were bestowing good fortune or more challenge, depending on if they're in the sign that they rule, or if they had any dignity, or if they were in detriment or fall. And also then what we could also do is go into the next layer of aspects, which is looking at the energies between the degrees of the planets. Or in ancient times, they used whole sign degrees, which didn't really relate to having to be a specific degree range, but whether they could witness or see each other from certain houses. So I hope you find this helpful. And if you have your own chart printed off, you could maybe start looking into the different signs of the zodiac around the outside wheel, and then maybe perhaps start looking at the different glyphs of the planets and their degrees and minutes, and maybe making a note of them, writing them out for yourself to see, my sun is at so-and-so degrees and so-and-so minutes in whatever sign of the zodiac. My moon is at this many degrees of this sign and this many minutes. My ascendant, I don't know if I pointed out the ascendant, where it says AS, that's the ascendant here, AS, 1 degree, Virgo, 34 minutes, and the descendant is always opposite, 180 degrees opposite. So the descendant here is 1 degree, Pisces, 34 minutes. And just finishing off here, actually, the MC. MC stands for medium coeli, which is Latin, and it means it's the constellation directly above at midday. So this tends to be an indicator of the sort of aspirations that a person has in life, depending on what sign of the zodiac that's in. It's like an inner compass, some directional force that you follow in life to achieve what you aspire to follow in your life's path. And always opposite the MC is the IC. So the IC would be 21 degrees, 58 minutes in Pisces and Scorpio here. So yeah, re-listen to this video, maybe pause it and see if you can make more sense of it and have fun at where I made mistakes. Because yeah, as I'm saying, I'm learning how to share all of these things. So I'm just taking away all the stars and hoping you found this helpful. And next time we'll go into more layers of the chart. So thanks for listening. Bye for now.